Today we're shipping a feature to Formwork which helps you automate the creation of your QMS even further. And to my knowledge, none of our competitors actually have this feature. And I think it's really, really amazing because it saves you a gigantic amount of time. So let's dive right into it and see how you would typically manage your documents in your QMS and how you would export that document stuff for an auditor. So typically you go to Documents, create a new document here, like an SOP for something important, literally, and then write some text here, save it. And at some stage, you would send this out for review and approval, as you can see here below, which is already kind of like started here by me creating it. And then you would want to hand it into an auditor. But now the problem is, well, now you have to hand in a huge bunch of documents to an auditor. And while Formwork already enables you to do that in a much faster way by providing you with something we call batch export, where you just export everything into one zip archive, it's still a bit cumbersome because you have to actually go through this document list and check like entry by entry whether it's really something you wanted to hand in and like when you last reviewed it and what type of document it is, because typically auditors like lists, and typically they would love to have a list of these documents which has that information. So as a side note, I think we already have way more features than our competitors here because we have folders and apparently no one else has folders. But it's again still cumbersome to go through these folders and kind of like assign these documents to certain types and create a table as an overview. So the new feature we have today is literally called QMS Overview, which I think is kind of funny. And I think it's really, really amazing because it actually really saves you all of this time. So if you go to QMS Overview, you can actually see Formwork automatically creates a table with all your documents which have already been released. So the document from just now is actually missing because we didn't release it yet. But I think this is extremely, extremely helpful because, again, it is automatic. So every document which has been released in your QMS is in this list, and it pre-populates all those fields already. So you could, for example, see like, cool, we have like an SOP for deployment, and then the version of the SOP is version 1, and the date of the first release is this date. And this is automatically already written by Formwork because we have that information in Formwork, right? We know when your first release took place and we know the version of this SOP. And anytime this SOP gets updated, this version number increases. So Formwork really keeps everything up to date. And in addition, in the columns here, we have additional data which auditors generally like to see. So for example, it's like a requirement of the standard that you regularly kind of like check your documents. It's a bit like ambiguous whether this is a real document review. We call it like a document checking activity. So you define a review cycle here, and then Formwork keeps track of the date when you actually last checked it and tells you when to check it next. So let's actually look at how this works with the deployment SOP. So you just go to Edit, and then first you assign the document type, which I guess auditors like because they like lists of things which assign types to things and keep things nice and tidy. And we actually give you like this pre-populated list with document types, which you can just take and use because these are just typically the normal document types. Again, this is the whole philosophy of Formwork not being super customizable and instead just giving you the bare minimum and the most simple implementation so you can use it and save a gigantic amount of time and you don't have to even think of these questions. So that for the deployment SOP, the question is pretty clear. This is an SOP, so we hit SOP, no surprises there. Then we can define a criticality and a checking cycle. So let's just say this is maybe check once per year. And then these days we're going to skip. And we can also assign an owner, which maybe could be me, the CEO, and we save it. And now this information is saved. And what I really, really think is really cool now you can actually do this activity which the standard requires you to do, which is to regularly check your documents. And it's literally one click in Formwork, which I think is amazing. So you could say like, look, I want to check this deployment SOP, and I don't want to go through a full review. I don't want to send it to other people because I just didn't make any change to it. I just want to like check if it's still applicable. So I could like open this in a new tab. I actually won't do that right now. And then I just hit mark check today, and it'll tell me like, cool, I'll set the date to today. Let's say yes. And perfect. It set the date to today's date, and it automatically calculated the date for when I should check this next, which is 1 year in the future. And of course, I can edit all of these again if I kind of like change my mind. Now I also have these really cool filtering functions, or rather actually sorting functions, where I can say, well, maybe I should look at the documents which are due to be checked next. So let's do date of next check ascending, right? Yeah, and then you can see the documents. A lot of these documents don't have this information yet because the feature is pretty new. Formwork gives me a list of the documents which I should be checking next. And actually, if I've checked those, I could hit the Mark Check Today button again, and then the date of the last check would be set to today again, and then the cycle kind of like continues. All right, so that's it. I think this is super, super exciting. I'm not sure if you get as excited about these sort of lists as I do, but well, actually I don't, but I get excited about the aspect of really automating a lot of work away here, because typically creating and maintaining these sort of lists was usually manual work, and it was a gigantic amount of pain. And my colleague Sven, who was kind of like the inspiration for this feature and who devised many of the subtle things we just saw in the feature today, he always had to like suffer from this pain, and he's super happy now because now he saves a lot of time. So this is a feature which comes in the typical Formwork subscriptions. So definitely try it out, and all existing Formwork customers, of course, get full access to this, and enjoy.